So we're going to investigate increasing, decreasing, and constant behavioral functions. We call these, I often call them intervals. We're going to describe the intervals of a graph that is increasing, decreasing, and constant. And so this is your notes for this. So let me see if I can make it easier to understand. So for all x sub 1 less than x sub 2 on the interval I, the function f of x plus 1 is less than f of x plus 2 means that it's increasing. So the easy way to do this, other than describing it mathematically, the easy way is to look at the graph and say, is the graph going up from left to right? If the graph is going up from left to right, it is increasing. If the graph from left to right is going down, then it's decreasing. And if the graph is not changing from left to right, it's a constant. We always describe the interval with the x values. And the reason we do that is because we're describing where it is increasing and where it is decreasing. So we're going to be using those x values to describe where these intervals are taking place. Let's do some examples of this. So using interval notation, write the intervals over which f of x is increasing, decreasing, and constant. So if you look at the graph carefully, the graph from left to right is going up here. It is not changing here. It is going down here, and then it's going up there. So we are increasing on two intervals. We are constant on this interval, and then we are decreasing on this interval. And we're going to use the x value. So I need to know, first of all, that's forever. What is the x value where they change? So there's a change here, there's a change here, there's a change here, and then it goes on forever. Those are the intervals we're going to look at. So starting with the increasing, we are negative infinity because it's pointing to the left forever. So negative infinity, it stops increasing at an x value of negative 2. But then it starts increasing at an x value of positive 2. Well, that means we're going to have two intervals. So we're going to join those with a u. And it's going up from 2, and then we have an arrow at the end to infinity. And what about your decreasing interval? Well, the decreasing interval starts decreasing at 0 and stops decreasing at 2. And then your last one, your constant, starts being constant at negative 2 and stops being constant at 0. Now notice I used only the x values. Notice I only use parentheses. The only time we won't use parentheses is if we have an endpoint that we're using to describe. But for the most part, in general, we always use parentheses when describing intervals increasing, decreasing, and constant. Because those turning points are the points where they change from one of those to another. You're not doing either because there's a change at that exact point. So let's do another one. So if you look on the left, it starts with decreasing. So this section is decreasing. But then you look and you see this section, it's not decreasing at the same rate, but it's still going down. And then you see this section is also decreasing. So notice that we don't have any constant and we don't have any increasing. It decreases over the whole graph. So how do we describe that? Well, we describe that as it's decreasing from negative infinity to positive infinity. It doesn't have these other two types of intervals.